All right, here we are at yet another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Though I was thinking yesterday, Peter, 441 episodes, they're at least 60 minutes. We used to do 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be a rookie by now, huh?
No, that would be embarrassing.
Yeah, to have all that training and still be a rookie.
Or at least be a professional student.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, today's title is Secrets Revealed to Productivity and Success in Creative Real Estate Today.
Okay.
Here's a description. Why is it that so many set goals but never actually hit them? Or worse, forget about them. Even start to implement, and life kicks them in the teeth and end up with the exact opposite of the goals. That's the one that happens to me.
Mm.
Are there actual underground secrets in creative real estate that some know and most don't to being productive and a successful deal maker? Or more important, what do most do when it comes to creative real estate profits that is great harm to themselves? What does a true peak performer learn and do so closing deals and getting getting consistent checks is like breathing air? Then there is the age-old issue of time and making sure it is enough to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do this? Or most important, is there an actual formula that is as natural as spring rain falling? This may sound simplistic, but for many, it is not simple to do. Today, we are going to drill deep into how you can easily turn your creative real estate machine into a productive, successful activity with just a few easy changes. Are you ready to do that? Let's
all say,
Okay, so let's just do some housekeeping things here. So, first of all, we have changed putting links in the description. The link that is in the description is a way for you to actually communicate with us. So I have been giving away hundreds of dollars worth of things, actually thousands of dollars, but I have given away things like our calculators, our creative real estate calculator. I've given away scripts. I have a course on how to make your first $5,000. So here's what happens. If you so choose, leave us a 5-star review and then take a snapshot of it or a picture of it and email it to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. That's flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. And I will send you these materials for free. You do have to tell me what you want, because if you don't, I'm not sure what to send you, because I have all kinds of stuff that I can give to you. Okay? Also, make sure you like us and subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. And if you want to participate in the podcast, you can do that. We live stream the recording of this podcast on Thursday mornings, 9:30 a.m. We do it on YouTube in two different places. One is Flipping Houses for Rookies. The other is Creative REI Reply, which is the software we own. You can go to LinkedIn or you can go to Facebook. And anywhere you can type stuff in there, you can ask your questions there, as long as it's pertaining to the material that we're talking about, then I will answer it. If not, you'll have to go to our support system, which is flippinghousesforrookies.com/support. So here we go, Peter.
Okay.
First thing we got to do is we have to agree if 98% of America or 98% of a populace we'll say America in this case, doesn't know something, then is it considered a secret?
Might as well be,
Right? That's what I think.
whether you're trying or not.
Right. Second, why is it so many have information overload today, but are starving for wisdom? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can tell you in my world, you go onto YouTube and you look up creative real estate, and I'll bet you I could put out, which I'm not doing, I could put out a reward for $1,000 for somebody to actually give me wisdom off of YouTube. Instead of just information to get you into a funnel or get you into a sales cycle or some mystery sandwich that will want to make you do more.
Oh God, a worm on a hook.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, by the way, in case you haven't listened to other podcasts, wisdom means knowledge with experience. So just take a minute or two, Peter, and just tell me, what does that mean to you? What does wisdom mean to you?
Well, I mean, the whole point of all of it is to get a result, to accomplish something. So how do you accomplish something and succeed if you don't understand what's happening, you don't have the knowledge, and you don't have some experience to know if this happens, I should do that. If it goes this way, I should go that way. You know, because things are not just sitting stationary on the ground. Things move around, you know, what people want, what people. Anyways, you have knowledge, but then you have experience to know what to do with it and how to make it work, so that gives you enough wisdom to do the right thing to accomplish something. Real estate, write a movie, you know, but something that'll work.
Right. Yeah. So a goal means that you don't have something and you have your aim on it, right? You're like looking at it and you're heading towards that direction.
Yeah.
Correct. Like
Yeah.
I'm in Connecticut and I want to drive to California.
Yeah.
Right. So the aim is what? What is the aim?
The aim is where you're headed to, not where you are. So you want to be in California.
Right. So the aim is I want to be in California.
Yep.
So a result is something that comes about as an effect or an end.
Mm-hmm.
So the result would be I'm in California.
Yep.
Right. Now, this is totally not part of my notes today, but when you set out for goals, there's a lot of that. We could do a whole podcast on this, which I decided not to because I'm doing it this way instead. But you know, the easiest way to say it is the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So each one of those bites is considered a result getting you closer and closer to your goal. So without getting into a whole dissertation this morning about it, results could be the end of something, or you can have sub-results, which are adding up to the end of something.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have steps you have to take, right?
Right.
So wisdom comes about in all those steps. Everything that you overcome, which by the way is happiness. That's what makes you happy. Being in California isn't what makes you happy. It's the steps you go along and the things you learn and the obstacles you have to overcome is what makes you happy. And most people don't understand that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So wisdom means knowledge and experience, right? So the question is, why is it so many have information overload today, but are starving for wisdom? And my response to this, if you ask me, which I'm imposing upon you right now because you're listening, after privately coaching so many, and I'm in 3 coaching groups, and I don't say that to brag, I just say that because the information I get is from people doing the business. It's not just me, right? Or it's not just you. It's because I have 3 different perspectives. It's not just my own coaching group, right? I mean, one is mine, one is with a software company, and one is with another guy that I helped, right? Everyone in these coaching groups, everyone. I'm not saying, I don't like to use generalities like that, but this is true. Everyone says they want to win.
Sure.
right? They all say that they want to win. They're there because they want to win.
Mm-hmm.
And most, when saying it, mean it. But what happens is a lot of these folks that set goals and want to win don't consider the cost of losing enough to do necessary things to win. Now, again, I will tell you that I have said this probably, I don't know how many times, a dozen times before. I'm in the middle of reading one of the most fascinating books I think I've ever read in my entire life. I can't put it down. It's Outwitting the Devil. Outwitting the Devil.
I haven't heard you mention that yet. I haven't heard this yet.
It's a brand new book. I saw it, and here's the reason why.
Wow. Oh,
It was written by Napoleon Hill in 1937.
No kidding.
And it was never released because of the title and because of what he interviews the devil.
Holy jeez.
But he tells his life story in the beginning, which is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And then he died, and his daughter was running his library,
Mm-hmm.
and she would not let it be released. So it was under wraps for 70 years, and it didn't get released, I think, until 2023. So it's a brand new book. It's not a brand new book, but it's a brand new publish.
Yeah, they call that new old stock.
Yeah, right? But
oh man,
it's a fascinating book. But anyway, so far what I have learned from it, which is I could give you a list of things, it's like completely rattling my world, right? What I have learned is that when you start a goal, and as I have mentioned before, let's say your sphere of influence is 6 inches, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's within that 6 inches, you're really good at what you do. And then your goal stretches that out to 8 inches. So there's a 2-inch difference between the 6 inch that you're comfortable with and the 8 inches that you're going to, right?
Mm-hmm.
That 2 inches is unfamiliar territory. It's going to be trouble.
Yep.
It's going to push back on you. It's going to create confusion
Mm-hmm.
and problems and try to hold you back because you don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I've understood that for 2 decades or a decade and a half. What I didn't understand is the purpose of failure, or the purpose of that outside circle, is when it comes in on you and it gives you a hard time, or it makes you feel like you have fear, or it makes you feel like you can't overcome it. Those are the times when you have to be thinking the most clearly. It makes you think the way you normally wouldn't think because you have to overcome that obstacle. You have to come up with solutions you normally wouldn't have. It heightens your ability to think your way through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was amazing to me.
Well, that makes sense, because if you don't, you give up, you feel bad, I can't do this, it's too hard. And I've seen people just like, oh, I asked somebody to do something once. He says, no, it's too hard, I can't do it. They didn't even try.
Right.
And I've seen people just dig in on something and just go and go and go. Like, wow, the kid's not giving up. Look at that go. It just grinds away. So there's a difference there.
So when I say most don't consider with their time, they don't consider the loss, the cost of losing enough necessary to win. You know, it's not just time to do the activity, but it's time to handle the barriers and the obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
I realized this when I was, I realized this because I've been kind of like really soul searching lately. You know how I get when I'm like this. I don't even know how I find stuff, but it just comes to me, right?
You search.
Yeah, I definitely find shit. So I realized this because Alex Hormozy released a video just after Christmas of 2024, right? And I'm going to tell you what the name of that video is before we end here. Dan Kennedy's No BS newsletter, which is he's teamed up with Russell Brunson, who is ClickFunnels, and the two of them run this newsletter together, and it is a fascinating newsletter. It's $97 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I figured out with these two resources. When setting goals or setting out for change, here's what happens. You really have to decide what is controlling your time now. It's not you. Notice that. What is controlling your time now? It's not you.
Mm.
Because you can change what you do in a split second.
Sure.
With a decision. What's in your mind? What are you thinking about right now? Right? I talk about Dan Sullivan, that book, which is an incredible book, Thinking About What I'm Thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small book, but it's very impingeful. And where's your energy going? Like, where are you expending your energy?
Mm.
Right? And I'll get into that in a few minutes. But first, let's talk about the expense or cost of setting a new goal.
Okay.
We never think about this, right? This is Alex talking now, right? It totally rattled me. Totally rattled me. Enough that I wrote this podcast. What I'm talking about here is a budget on your time. And how much this new goal will cost you in time. And I don't mean in time like doing time, but what do you have to give up?
Mm.
And is it worth that expense? Right? For example, suppose you want to do creative real estate, right? And you decide that you need to do 1 hour per day of marketing and 1 hour per day of talking to sellers, which is how I trained many real estate people. Is I tell them in the morning, do 1 hour of marketing. In other words, outflow. And then after a while, you're going to start getting inflow. So in the afternoon, you spend 1 hour talking to sellers or buyers. Mm-hmm. Like if you're selling property, right? The point is that outflow begets inflow, right? So if you're outflowing in the beginning, you won't have somebody to talk to in the afternoon.
Right.
So you do an hour of marketing in the morning and an hour of marketing in the afternoon until you start getting inflow. Then you start switching it. Maybe you do an hour in the morning of marketing and then a half hour of marketing and a half hour of talking to people until you get that balance of an hour and an hour, right? To do this, to get this 2 hours, and I'm going completely simplistic here. I would love to go deep on this, but I don't know that I could do that. You might be able to help me, right? To do this, you may have to give something up in your day.
Well, sure.
So what's the expense? Because if your day is full, which I promise you it isn't, but if you think your day is full, you might have to maybe get up an hour early in the morning to do your marketing.
Yeah.
So you might have to lose some sleep. Or if you're going to get up an hour early, you may have to go to bed an hour earlier the night before.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which means maybe you don't watch that favorite TV show. Right?
Sure.
Or you don't go to a friend's house, or you don't go out drinking with your buddies or to the cigar shop. I've done that. On a Friday night, stay out too late with a productive day the next day, and then I end up dragging my heels the next day because I stayed out too late. I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? See, here's what happens, Peter. When you're tired or you're bogged down with the wrong thoughts, or I don't mean it this way, but just to get the concept, there's some depression or suppression that's kind of like squashing you a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You won't reach, you won't push, you won't drive, you won't go outside of yourself. You'll just stay stuck inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of victim-y.
Sure.
Like, oh, look what's happening to me. So the most powerful thing that any human being can do for themselves is to make sure they have enough energy or enough horsepower to push. So, as a bad analogy, but very clear, if you had the olden days, you had horse and buggy, right?
Yeah.
If you had a horse that was ill or a horse that was distracted because they didn't have their blinders on and they wanted to go a different way than you want to go, or if you have a horse that is like not fed or weak, are they going to pull that wagon the way that you want them to pull that wagon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, not.
Literally, the horsepower is low,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is what happens when you have lack of sleep, or you don't exercise, or you eat wrong, or you're distracted. That's the most valuable one for today. You're distracted. When you're distracted, the horses, let's say you're pulling a big carriage and you got 4 horses, right? You know, like what do they call the what's the name of the bank?
The bank?
Yeah, the bank. That's the oh my god.
What's that got to do with the horses?
Yeah. Oh my god.
I was thinking Budweiser beer with the draft horses.
Okay, that's good.
Banks.
Yeah.
I don't know the bank one, but how about the Budweiser draft horses?
It's the name of the oh my god, why can't I think of it? So anyways, that's a good example. Yeah. So let me see if I gotta.
So there's a bank that has a connection with horses. I know horses, and I know a couple of banks. I'm not connected now one.
Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo was developed because way back in the day, that's what they did is they like had horses and buggies and carriages, and they carried payroll and all that kind of stuff.
They transported.
Yeah. Right. So but yours is better. So you got Budweiser and you got 6 horses, and one of them or 2 of them are distracted and want to go a different way than the other 4.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? It becomes an argument or becomes a distraction with the other 4 horses, and not all horses are pulling the wagon to its full potential.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how this is important? The horsepower or the energy to be able to push, to drive, to be able to stay focused and not allow outside influence to distract you. And I'm going to come back to that, okay?
Sure.
So the other way to handle your time is, instead of giving something up, you could swap your time, right? For the new goal. Like, instead of calling someone to chit chat, use that time to do your marketing.
Mm.
Or instead of going to your sister's house and hanging out, use that time for marketing, or adjust your schedule. Or instead of, I don't know, going to the cigar shop like I might do, or I don't know, tell me something you might do, Peter, that you could swap time with.
How much time do people spend watching TV?
Okay.
Watching the news. That's useless. That's just, sorry, it's interesting sometimes, but it's just useless.
You just gave me an idea. Social media. How much time do you spend on social media?
Well, my phone says 2 hours and some a day. But for me, some of it is work. It's not just fooling around. But yeah, your phone will tell you spent 2 hours on the phone yesterday.
Right.
Scrolling, baby.
So you could swap that time for productive real estate activity.
This reminds me of what you talked about a couple of weeks ago, of like what things are important to do, what things are okay to do, and what things like, what are you doing that for? You're not going to get anywhere with that stuff. So you take some of that unimportant stuff, replace it with this important steps. Why not?
So let's go back to the beginning of the podcast. What is a result? It's the end of a goal. So when you're scrolling on your phone and spending 2 hours in Facebook, that tells me that your goals are weak, or you don't have any. Because you're not tenacious or vicious enough to go get those goals. Right? You have spare time in your hand, and you're just kind of like dilly-dallying because you have the time. Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody deserves loafing time, but you got to buy that loafing time.
You know how I look at it? You have these things you want to accomplish in the future that are important, but so you have to give up something now to get there. And it's not, you don't want to do that now. You don't want to give it up. That's what you're looking for. But if you really want to get a lot of that in the future, you give up some of that now to make it like putting money away. You know, what do you save money for? Just spend it. No, you save some, then you utilize it later to make it grow more. So you're planting seeds for the future, and you have to get out there and bust your butt, dig the hole, and put the seed in the hole and water it. But in the end, something should come from it. But you got to sacrifice something now to get that bigger goal later, or you just be treading water.
So Benjamin Hardy wrote a book called The Future You.
Yeah.
And it's all about that, because if you place yourself in the future, say 5 years from now, and you look back at yourself and what you're doing now, and you analyze or take apart, like, oh, I wish I knew, I wish I could go back there and change it.
Yep.
Like you're in your future year, we'll say a year from now, or whatever the time is, right? You go a year from now and you're looking back and you're like thinking to yourself, boy, if I could go back to then, I would do this differently. And then you come back to now and you do that thing differently.
Yep.
It's a pretty interesting concept.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe instead of having coffee in the morning for an hour, you do your real estate marketing, right? So the point is you could swap. You can either, if your schedule is really rigorous, which I believe, I mean, I've not met anybody like that. Everybody has time, right? It's what they want to give up or not give up that's the issue.
Yep.
Like, I like having my coffee in the morning. Oh my God, if I don't have my coffee in the morning for an hour, my day is a mess. And they have the time, they just don't want to give it up. Or go to my sister's house for dinner 3 times a week, or my mom's house to dinner for 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I could never give that up. So it's not a matter of time. It's a matter of what you're willing to swap in and out of your time or give up to get that. So what is the cost of doing that for you? Do you really want to give up eating dinner at mom's? Right? Do you really want to, like in your case, not scroll for 2.5 hours a day on your phone?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that something that you could give up? Maybe you could do it for a half an hour or an hour instead of 2 hours, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so once you get this time budget, as Dan Kennedy calls it, worked out, like when you're going to do it, and you figure out the expense of it, and you're willing to pay that bill, right?
Yep.
No different than, do I go to Five Guys for dinner? Or do I go to McDonald's for dinner? It used to be a big difference in cost, but nowadays there isn't. But,
oh God, that's terrible.
I mean, Five Guys is a $20 burger, and McDonald's is a $10 or $12 burger. But anyways, so you have to sort out the expense, and once you figure out the time blocking or the time budget, and that how much you're going to pay for it, and you're settled with that in your mind, you can then start doing this, right? So let me get straight in there here. I have a word I can't read in my own writing here. So the second point you would want to do, as Maxwell Maltz says in his book Psycho-Cybernetics, start looking at the theater in your mind. What movie are you watching in your imagination? What are you thinking about? This goes back to the Dan Sullivan book, Thinking About What You're Thinking, right? If you analyze the thoughts that you're perceiving or looking at or feeling, or in other words, what do you have fixed attention on? What keeps popping up in your mind? What do you keep going back to? In other words, when you're working, your thoughts should be on your work, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which many people don't do. Because when they're working, this is what makes mistakes, is that you're not confronting that thing and thinking about just that thing. While you're doing that thing, you're thinking about something else. Mm-hmm. And that's how mistakes happen, right? See, if the goal is clear, and it's emotional enough for you, and it's illogical enough for you, and you play it in this theater in the mind thing, and you think about it, and I'm not talking about meditation, but that sort of concept where you're just keeping your attention on it, right? Then your subconscious mind will take over for you and start finding solutions. It will work for you because it knows that the logical part of your mind has decided to do this. Or it will throw up all the barriers and fight you. So you have to recognize that both are very good. If this now one thing, and I keep diverting here, but one thing that I would like to emphasize is I have a way that I want to say this, but it's kind of religious, and I really don't want to do that. So if you have an idea, let's say an affirmation, right, or a postulate, right? A postulate is it just is. There's no. It's like this. Like I'm going to have $10 tomorrow morning at 2:00. It just is. There's no way I'm not going to have it. Right. Once you make those decisions, like I want to do creative real estate, okay, what eases your mind and what you will get is not a miracle like a bolt of lightning flash, and all of a sudden you're doing creative real estate. What you're going to get, and this is very important, Peter, because I'm 61 years old and just learned this.
Really?
Just learned this. And it's so weird how I figured it out. But what you're going to get is a plan. So I want to be a creative real estate investor. Doesn't mean that you're just going to get a house one day and it's going to show up. What's going to happen is your subconscious mind or your analytical mind, whichever way you're going to do it, but the solution is going to come in the form of a plan.
That makes sense.
And that's going to set you into action.
Yep.
See, this is very important. Where your attention goes, energies flow, results show. That's R.T. Eckert or whatever. I forgot his name. It was 20 years ago when I was born. Right? So where attention goes, energies flow, results show. So if you're not playing that movie in your mind and thinking about it, and if you're not overcoming the reactiveness of this, right? Like the environment pushing back on you, then you're not doing it because cause and effect is in play, right? So what you need to do, and I'm being really profound today, and it probably is not going to be a popular podcast, but it is what it is. You're stimulating or raising your ability to think about what you normally wouldn't think about, which is a plan to do something you've never done before.
Well, that makes sense because if you want to accomplish something you haven't really done before, you got to do something you quite haven't done before. You got to figure out a plan to do that thing. So you got to start off thinking about something that you don't even know about, how to get there. So it's a lot of like to me, it's like trusting yourself. And I watch you do things like we'll buy a house and like, Bill, should we inspect it? We're like, we'll figure it out as we go. And then it needs a new furnace or needs a roof or it doesn't have gas. We got to get a gas line. You got to call the gas. But everything has a solution. Call the gas company. How soon can you get a line put in? Call the plumber. But I watch you just like, well, we could do this, we could do that. Ask people questions. And you find, well, you could do that. Oh, and you find solution to things. But you have to put every little bit of it there, step by step by step, trusting yourself that a solution will come. Something, we haven't died yet. We'll get it. And in the end, you succeed and make $90,000.
Right. And to your point, the reason I read so much is to get other people's perspective on how they solved a similar problem that I'm looking to solve, which is the reason why my house is full of books. My wife came down to my office the other day. She goes, boy, you got a lot of books. And I thought to myself, hell, that's about 25% of them. She hasn't been in the other room yet. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got them in my office, I've got them in my bedroom, and I have them in the basement, right? And I'm not saying that for any other reason other than when I know that I have to overcome a barrier, I'm looking for other viewpoints of how they handled the same problem I have,
Mm-hmm.
right? So success needs focus and the right attitude, but it also needs the right surroundings.
Mm.
See, Dan Kennedy explains in his uh, revised book, No BS Management for Entrepreneurs, edition 4, edition 4, edition 4. That means he's written his fourth book and keeps updating it on time management.
Wow.
You can't reasonably expect to succeed in a failing environment. I watched this with my grandkids on Christmas morning.
What?
How they would open a gift and they're like,
Oh.
"Oh, I'm so excited! I wanted this gift."
Mm-hmm.
And either one or two things, they'll play with it and they'll do whatever. And as soon as they start to take the box open, my daughter will say, "Okay, we have more gifts to open. Let's do that later."
Oh, yeah.
Or they'll want to play with it, and there's 10 or 15 other toys in the room that distract them, right? Or the TV's on in the back with a cartoon that gets their attention.
Yeah.
Or they notice that there's a cookie on the counter and they want that. How do they focus on that new gift? So choreographing a distraction-free environment and in avoiding distractions or other temptations like text and email, social media, right? Unproductive meetings or interruptions is vital to your production and stress. Dan Kennedy called these in his first management book, time management book, time vampires.
Mm.
The person that walks in your office in an office environment and sits down and wants to talk about the baseball game, right? So the very first and best key to avoiding being distracted is to create an environment where you can't be. I can't be in the kitchen and work because too many people walk in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can't be at like one thing that I did try is I tried one of those community offices. I think I paid $80 a month, and I used to go down to New Haven, right? And there was like this big space that had all office supplies and everything.
Yep.
I can't be there because too many people. Just the noise alone.
Oh,
People.
So you tried to get
around.
away. There was you tried to get away. There was another, just more problem of other people there trying to get away,
Right.
distracting each other.
I have relatives come to my house and they'll stay here and they'll do things, and the part that aggravates me the most is this is not my house. This is my house. This is my work. This is my office. This is where I have meetings. This is where I do my religion. This is not just a house.
Yeah.
I don't go anywhere. I mean, I went out yesterday. I went down to the church last night.
Uh-huh.
It was the first time I left in 3 days. I hadn't been out of the house in 3 days, other than to walk out to the mailbox to get the mail.
Yeah. Right.
But listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing a new book, which you know about.
Mm-hmm.
It's Thursday right now, and since Monday, I've already written over 10,000 words.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Over 15,000 words.
Well.
And while I'm writing the book, I made 4 newsletters because I'm going to start a newsletter business, which we're going to release. I have a Subject to event coming up this weekend. And once I get done with that, I'm going to release a newsletter.
Wow.
So that's why I didn't leave the house. And I'm not bragging about that, but I'm just saying that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I leave the phone outside the door, right? And I shut things off if I have to, so I don't get distracted.
Yeah.
Right. So the first thing, and best key to avoiding being distracted is to create an environment where you can't be. Like I just gave you an example. If you're a writer, have a computer that doesn't have an internet access. Just shut your internet off, your Wi-Fi off, and then just be in a room. Listen. I listen to music. I'm a big jazz guy, and I just listen to music. I actually have in my bedroom, I have a record player. So when I exercise in the morning, when I get up in the morning, I exercise. I do my mental exercises. I do my physical exercises, and I have records from the 20s and the 30s that I listen to every morning. Right. All right. So for creating real estate, you need a quiet room where you would make your calls from. Now, the most underutilized, under talked about, underestimated action for success with Creative REI Reply, which is the software that we use that we do 90% of all the work for you, is that we actually make the calls right from the computer. So when you open the file of the person that you want to talk to, everything you need is there. You're not distracted by going and looking for something else. Everything you need is there. The calculator's there, the script is there, the phone is there. Everything's in one location. You go to that one screen, and everything you need to do is there. The text messaging, the emailing, the documents, everything is in one screen.
Yep, totally true.
So you're not distracted. And when I created the software, and I don't say, I have the ideas, others have created the software. That's how I wanted it to be, distraction free. Now, yeah, you got to have your internet to be able to get onto the software, but you go into the software and you just do that one thing and only that one thing. You focus on that one seller, and that's all you do. Right? So let's say you don't have the software.
Okay.
And you're going to do this hour in the morning, an hour at night, right? Here's what you do. You get in a quiet room, no distractions, other than maybe some soft music, right? Gary Halbert is one of the best copywriters ever. He's dead now. But one of the things he used to do is he worked 33 minutes at a time. He played the same music in that 33 minutes every time he worked for 33 minutes. It was the same music.
Really?
It provoked him to write.
Huh.
And he was by far one of the best copywriters on the planet. Okay? He was one of the beginning guys. You're talking back in the day when they did direct mail. And they would send out a piece of mail and make $10 million. I mean, this guy could write, okay? So you sit in a room with this music for an hour. If you don't want music, that's fine. And here's what you do. You get a blank piece of paper, nothing else on your desk, nothing else around you, no phone, no computer, nothing. Just a yellow notebook pad or whatever piece of paper, notebook, whatever you're going to use. A blank piece of paper and a pen or a pencil to write with. And if you don't know what to write, keep looking at that piece of paper. You don't do anything else until your mind comes up to a necessity level of, I'll do this. And now you start making your plan. It may take you 2 or 3 days sitting there looking at a blank piece of paper. But now watch this. What is the movie in your mind at this point when you stop doing that activity? I just sat there for an hour looking at a blank piece of paper. What am I going to do tomorrow? And that movie in your mind is going to start playing, and your subconscious is going to kick in. You're going to be, well, I wonder, or you're going to watch a commercial on TV, or you're going to drive down the road and see a billboard, or you're going to be in a store and see the name, a book title of a name of a book title, or you're at the grocery store and the person cashing you out says something and it triggers it. You see how it works?
Sure.
I know this sounds so profound, but I'm telling you, it is so important. It is so important. What you think is what you get. And I know I've been hammering that, but it is so true.
Yeah, but Bill, the crazy thing is, how many people even try to think?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's extremely few people. Well, I got a job. I just go do my job. I come home. I eat, watch TV, go to bed. So a lot of people aren't even taking the first step of thinking, should I be thinking? Can I think? Can I come up
Well,
with something? What should I do?
the book that Dan Sullivan wrote, Thinking About What I'm Thinking, the reason why I like it so much is because it's the first door. It's entering into the foyer of the house that you can control your thinking. It's not just it just doesn't come to you. Things just don't come to you. You can control your thoughts and get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being effect of it, you can be cause over it. All
Well,
right, so
the mind is on automatic.
yeah.
You have to put the brakes on sometime and take over driving. It's like autopilot. It really is.
Yep.
Unless you just grab it and like do some steering.
Right. Okay, so you need to do this hour of staring at this piece of paper, no matter what seeming emergencies happen, or erupting news, or broken plumbing pipes, etc., and you need to put all this stuff into the drawer or into the box. I talked about that a couple podcasts ago, right? The vault in the basement. Remember, you take that thought, you go down in the basement, and you open the vault up, and you go inside the vault, and there's a box there, and you unchain the box and unlock the box, and you take the thought and all the materials and everything that you had containing to that thought, you put it in the box, you lock it back up, wrap it with chains, you go out of the vault, and you shut the big vault door, clunk, and you go back upstairs, and it's safe. You don't have to think about it until you go back down and get it again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's kind of a strange analogy, but that's what it is, right? So once you've put that thought in the drawer or closed it in a locked box, and your mind is clear or gone from current attention units, like the emergency or the erupting news or the plumbing pipes or whatever, you can now focus on the production you need to handle. Right? This drops us at the front door of compartmentalizing your mind and thoughts, right? Like calling a seller, making an offer, and producing documents for a deal. Keep asking yourself, how can I do that today? Remember what Grandma said, or used to say.
Yeah.
My wife runs this on me all the time. A place for each thing, and each thing in a place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A place for each thing, and each thing in a place. Now, I know she meant this for housekeeping, but it works perfectly for focusing your attention. If you compartmentalize your attention. Right? It's kind of like time blocking, your attention blocking your attention. I think about this at this time. I think about that at that time. I think about this at that time. Right? Okay, now I'm ready to work on. I have a furnace problem in one of my houses. Okay, now it's 1 o'clock, and I got an hour. I'm going to work on this furnace problem, and that's all I work on.
Yep.
And then I compartmentalize it, and I go off, and it's okay. Now I'm going to work on my book. And I turn on the music, and I work on the book. Right? So it's doing what you're doing while you're doing it. Right? Now, we have entered into a whole new sphere of you once you do this. And here's the conclusion. We're going to end off. We're going to end, head for the ending now, because this is the punchline of today's podcast.
Okay.
Now that we have found you, and it's just you and your ability to create and go into the future, you're gonna automatically self-impose pressure on yourself, aka put a necessity level on you. You're gonna need to do this. This is where most are trying to avoid stress, right? These imposed pressures,
Mhm.
right? Today, and believe me, I am very loud about this because I am definitely not a snowflake. Okay. Impose mental health issues. I need a mental health day. I took some of my PTO, right? Those are not part of my world. My kids do it, and I've learned to survive through this, right? Which often turns into when you're doing these mental health things or PTO, they often turn into avoiding human being contact or phone phobia, confronting another person, right? And then that turns into just texting someone to make a deal. Again, I'm not posing this, but I would give somebody $1,000. And I'm not saying that I would do this. I'm not saying this. I should. I give somebody $1,000 that bought a house with just texting someone and never talked to them on the phone.
Well, you could if you gave him $1 million.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Here's the thing. The next billionaire, in my eyes, or a brilliant billionaire idea, is to teach our society social skills again, because we lack social skills in today's society. And this was not an accident. This was orchestrated by certain parties, and they are very close. They want this. A certain government wants this so they can control you. By the way, that government is called communistic.
Yeah.
They don't want you to have social skills, right? So we have an epidemic today of a lack of social skills, and it kills a lot of creative real estate investors. And a hint for me is I don't like confrontation, so I avoid it.
Okay.
Well, confrontation is what helps you to that. It raises your necessity level to overcome it and think about that thing that you normally wouldn't think about. That's the mental health you need, not subduing and having less stress, eliminating the stress. The stress and overcoming obstacles and overcoming the physical barriers and the mental barriers is what will make you grow. That is where the success is on the other end of overcoming those obstacles and outthinking or outwitting those obstacles is what the experience that you need we call wisdom. That's what you need. Those are the things that you need to pay attention on, right? There's an old saying for this, Peter.
What's that?
And it's apropos to what's happening in the world right now. And I didn't write it because of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because this happened before. My saying happened before what's happening in the world today. But losers run from fire. Winners run into it.
Yeah.
Losers run from fire. Winners run into it. Pressure facilitates focus and thought. Pressure facilitates focus and thought. In his book, which I was talking about before, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, he talks about how you don't fall. If you don't fall or get in trouble, you don't really focus or do the deep thinking need for wisdom and get the knowledge and experience. So you should be looking for the opposition. You should be looking for the fear. You should be looking for those moments, that 2 inches, right, from 6 inch to 8 inch, the 2 inch that you can confront and overcome so you can then be 8 inches bigger. I mean, 2 inches bigger and become 8 inches, just as my analogy was earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stress facilitates focus, the critical commanding need to think on the issue right now and overcome it right now. See, stress puts time. There's deadlines with stress.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't just let you meander off and think about, oh, willy-nilly, oh my goodness, someday I'll figure it out. No, stress puts a deadline there, right? A true peak performer learns how to look and actually be relaxed under this type of pressure. So a true peak performer not only looks for this pressure, but knows it's going to happen, has prepared for it, has time blocked for it, and is expecting to use his available resources to overcome these problems. And he's relaxed about it because he knows in the end, when he gets through these problems and through these barriers and through this fear, he's going to have a big win. My daughter gives this back to me all the time. She just did it yesterday. I haven't talked to my daughter in 4 or 5 days, which is unusual. And she says to me, "How you doing, Dad?" I said, "Well, I'm a wounded dog licking my wounds. I'm getting there though because I'm pulling out of it. Because I've had some stuff recently that has been on my plate, and I keep pulling myself out of it by saying, damn, the other side is going to be really good once I get through this, because these are some crazy shit things happening to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're only happening because I'm expanding. They're not happening willy-nilly. They're happening because I'm expanding, right? But she says to me, my favorite saying is, the pendulum swings both ways. So when it gets really bad, there's going to be something that's just as equal, because that's how Mother Nature works, that's going to be really good, right? So if you do not impose this kind of pressure on yourself and raise your own necessity level, how do you expect to grow and envelop yourself into your own self-imaged goal? Why do you expect to hit your goals for free and not pay for them? Why do you feel like there's not an expense to your goals? Who do you think you are that you can impose these goals, like I want to make $1 million, on the physical universe, like you're royalty or something, and it's just going to drop at $1 million is going to drop at your doorstep, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm glad I thought of that. You think somebody before you hasn't said, oh, I wish I had $1 million, and that $1 million showed up at their doorstep? You think you're the first person to think that? You're the first person to wish that? You're the first person to demand that? Because money goes to pro survival, or money goes to where the attention is. Who's got the most amount of attention? Grant Cardone said it in his Millionaire book, right? Who's got my money? Mm-hmm. The money's there. There's not a problem with money. The money is there. It's what are you doing to attract it? What are you doing to get a plan to suck it in? What are you doing that the money wants to come to you? Remember, wisdom is knowledge with experience. You need these new and uncharted experiences to get your wisdom, right? And this wisdom is what pays you. Going through these obstacles and setting these goals is what pays you. Expanding and growing, right? Where your attention goes, energy, which I'm calling thoughts, energy flows, and pressure and results show. When you decide to focus, decide to work in a distraction-free environment, you will soon start to be considerate about interrupting other people's time. That's important, right? And they'll do the same for you. I got to tell you, when I first started doing this, when I first read the time management book, it took me probably a year to train my family and the people in my world that would come into my house on no. And you know how I did it? It took me, you're going to think this is stupid. Oh, I could have done that in 30 seconds. Well, it did. I'm a dumbass. It took me probably months and months to figure this out. But I made a rule. When my office door is shut, don't knock, don't come in, don't anything. Walk away. And to this day, even my wife, once in a while, she'll barge into my office and I'll look at her and she's like, what? I'm like, you didn't knock. I'm your wife. I don't care. Here we go. So hopefully this made sense. So now I want to leave everyone with a little bit of homework assignment.
Good.
Okay, so I went really profound today. I don't know if this podcast is for me or for you or for the listeners, because I think it's probably more for me because it gives me a chance to write down things that I'm going through
Mm-hmm.
and things that I'm sorting out and things that I'm learning that others have learned before me, but I'm just now coming around to it. And I'm telling you this at 61 years old. I'm telling you these things, and I'm telling you these things after doing hundreds and hundreds of deals, and it's still learning. Here's the homework assignment. Number one, go on to YouTube. You should be writing this down. Go on to YouTube and find Alex Hormozy. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Search the video. So go on to YouTube, Alex Hormozy. Search the video, My Blueprint for Setting Goals, episode 818. 818. So My Blueprint for Setting Goals, episode 818. You should listen to it a few times.
818. Holy crap.
So, Peter, if you go into the group that we just started, if you go into the WhatsApp, I put it in there.
Okay.
It's already there. Okay, for you.
Oh, thank you.
Number two, while still on YouTube, you should search for motivational.tv. Motivational TV. Okay. There are a lot of videos. This guy's pretty good. He uses a lot of the old books and stuff, and he recites them and gives examples. The video you want to watch is Be the Best. And then there's like those bars that you use, and it's like a straight up bar to separate text. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
There's a separator. And then it says 1 hour to change your next 10 years. And then it says one of the most motivational speech 2024. And it's motivational radio. So when you go into YouTube, look for motivational radio. Now, when you're driving, instead of listening to the radio on your car, you should listen to this. I plug it in on my I have headphones and I put it on my cell phone. I actually take the link and I text myself so I don't have to go looking for it. So when I get in my car, I just open up my text, I push the button and it opens it up. I don't have to go on YouTube and looking for it or anything like that, right? Because YouTube right now sucks on the phone. The search on there it's not very good. So it's called Motivational Radio, and it's the name of it is Be the Best. 1 hour to change your next 10 years. One of the most motivational speech 2024. This is the first thing I found. I found this when I was driving to Florida in October.
Mm-hmm.
This is how long this journey's been for me. It's been 4 months. Okay. There's a lot to listen to there on that channel. Stop watching TV and watch one of these videos per day. Or listen to them. I listen to them. Number 3, and I don't know that it's on Amazon yet, but go grab Dan Kennedy's newest book, The No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs, the 4th edition. And in this book, Dan actually gives 10 tips for removing distractions and staying productive. So if you can't find it on Amazon, go to No BS, Dan Kennedy No BS website, and you'll get it there. But the book is called No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs, 4th edition. Now, I'm professing right now that this homework assignment is guaranteed to reset you for complete, productive, and success in creative real estate if you listen and implement. Just those 3 things, because that's all I did. It's amazing. Just the 2 videos alone. I mean, Alex Hermosi. I don't even know what to say about that guy. I don't know if I'm more impressed with his wisdom, which I don't think is his wisdom. I think he just isn't like how I read, but he definitely knows how to articulate it so others can get it and get the punchline. And he's very short and concise, unlike me. Okay, good. Don't forget to subscribe to wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you like us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. And if you would like some free goodies, hundreds of dollars worth of gifts, I will bribe you. If you were to leave us a 5-star review, take a picture of it and send it to flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. And I will make sure you send the screenshot and make sure you ask me for what you want. Like I said, as of now, I mean, any podcast, if I've mentioned anything on any podcast in 441 episodes, I will give it to you. Okay, so the big thing that we've been working on lately is the Creative Real Estate Calculator, the script, the Grand Slam offer script, which is very exclusive to me, and my How to Make Your First $5,000 course. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your attention today, and flourish and prosper. We'll talk to you on episode number 442. Over now.